This is everything that you need to know about the Subaru Outback Wilderness after 30,000 miles. Welcome guys, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's my 2022 Outback Wilderness. And this video is for anyone who owns or is considering owning any sort of turbo Outback, whether it's a Wilderness or another trim level. So this is my story. I bought this in September of 2021. I got about $600 off, so it was about 40 grand, which I bought by trading in my 2019 Crosstrek Premium and paying the difference. I owned that Crosstrek for about 2 years and 40,000 miles, and that was a really good vehicle. I've now driven this over 30,000 miles, and it'll share everything that you need to know. And trust me, there's a lot I have to share for you to learn about what the potential ownership experience could be like, especially if you're new to my channel or haven't seen an update video in a while. I'm going to share a whole lot of stuff. I'm going to keep it short, so we're going to go through basically its whole history. The main topics I plan to cover that I think will be valuable to you guys are the modifications I've done, any issues it's had and their resolvement, the miles per gallon, how the Geolandar all-terrain tires have held up and what my experience has been with those, and any potential financial regrets in purchasing this Outback 2 years ago. And if what you learned today is helpful in any way, please consider liking the video. That small act of kindness really goes a long way. And comment what you want to see more of or what you want to learn more about. And let's get right into it. As far as modifications go, I usually don't do a whole lot of stuff to my daily drivers because depending on what systems I'm interfering with, I start to question the vehicle's reliability in the long term when I want it to be a reliable daily. So I do a lot more mods on my project cars. So all that the Outback has is 35% tint, which may be kind of hard to identify with the overcast we have today. The back is, estimated to be about 20% from the factory. So the front, being legal in my area, still adds quite a bit of shade. And then this is the Nav Sight 20-inch LED dual amber and white light, about 65K rating light bar. I have an installation video of this if you're interested in that. Also, if you guys are interested in buying Nav Sight LED headlight upgrades, light bars of any of their 10 to 50-inch designs, pod lights, anything else like that, I have a discount code Anonymous, good for 20% off, so I'll link that code and the website below. They're a really cool company, which is why I chose to trust them for this modification. Although I will say, I had to take off the full front clip or full bumper to install that, because when you drop the honestly pretty darn pathetic plastic skid plate off of these, you still don't have access to the lower grille, and that was a really fun modification to do. Bonus, if you guys didn't know, the Outback Wilderness actually has a Garrett name brand turbo. I thankfully only had 2 issues so far with my Outback. One was the infamous windshield crack that happens out of nowhere on the bottom passenger side. Subaru of America was nice enough to replace that for me when I gave them a call. And then I have had some chips since then, but I just filled them with the Rain-X kit, and so far none of them have spread. The other thing that's pretty weird, and if you guys want a video on this, let me know and I'll make one of the swapping. But my wireless charger, which I never use because it just doesn't do a very good job and it seems to overheat your phone, that actually started to leak some fluid, and the mat that goes on top of it, it's kind of misshapen now. So Subaru of America sent me a pretty hefty coupon. I'm probably just going to save that for a CVT fluid change down the road, and I'll just buy the $20 or $30 of replacement parts now to swap it out to the factory tray to have more room, since I don't use the wireless charger anyway. But comment below if you want a video of that. As far as miles per gallon are concerned, my current lifetime average is probably in the 27.5 ballpark. I have gone as good as about 33 or 34 on a whole tank of gas worth a trip, but that was going a consistent 65, 70 miles per hour. The vehicle was well warmed up, oil temp was about 200, and the RPM was below 2,000 with the CVT doing its job of actually being more efficient. But in general, high 20s highway, low 20s city. I do understand why a lot of people barely hit 20 miles per gallon. If you're in stop and go traffic, this Boxer's thirsty. It uses a lot of fuel, idling at 700-800 RPM. But when all the conditions are right and you're cruising at 70 below 2,000 RPM, that's its optimal range. Being in the low RPM of the highest fake gear, this can do really well. In fact, a lot of people comment on my videos and their frustration is real. They let me know that their naturally aspirated Outbacks sometimes don't even do as well as the turbo models in reality in their elements, which is quite unfortunate. As far as the Geolandar tires are concerned, I love them. They are Snowflake Peak rated with over 31,000 miles. I still have about 7/8 tread depth, depending on where you measure. And the wear pattern is uniform. They've done really well. No curb rash on any of the wheels. Having, over 5 inches of sidewall surrounding the wheel really helps to keep them safe. Also, using the front-facing camera to help you park really helps to keep them safe as well, not to get too close to the curbs with how good visibility is throughout this thing. But the spare tire has never been touched. It's kept in the back. I know not everyone agrees with me, but I'd rather have a dedicated spare that I can count on and screw the all-wheel drive system. If I'm stuck in the wilderness, if something happens and I'm in trouble, I'd rather know that there's a dependable spare than worry about a couple miles of traveling on uneven tread depth by millimeters. So that's not the popular opinion, but that's my opinion. But if you guys do want to watch a tire rotation video, I'll gladly include one of those. But otherwise, these tires are really good. And honestly, when I have to replace them, I'll either get Falcon Wild Peaks probably, or another set of these because they have been that good. And regarding the tires, I do actually want to mention, if you are worried about that, you can get like a $25 nail repair kit on Amazon. So if the nail or, you know, issue like that is in the tread depth, you can replace that. Obviously not if it's in the sidewalls, then it's just overly too compromised how the structure of the tires. But you can do nail fixes on your own. They take about 5 minutes, so I would strongly recommend having one of those kits. I don't have one on my own Outback, but I do have one for my Mazda Miata because that doesn't have a spare tire on it. Do I have any regrets? No, not necessarily, because this has been the best daily driver I've ever had. I of course miss the Tacomas I used to have with the 5-speed manual, although I will say after driving everything I've driven now, I'm sure I would have been disappointed with the 5-speed manual, how sloppy and long the travel and throw was if I knew then what I knew now. So that's probably better kept as a memory. I also really miss my supercharged FJ Cruiser, but getting 14-15 mpg just wasn't cutting it back when I was driving almost 1,000 miles a week between recreational fun and doing therapy between towns. So the biggest regret I have for buying this Outback is not adding weather stripping around it from the beginning. After 30,000 miles, not doing any more off-roading than what you see overlaid in this video, it's disgusting under here. Compared to a lot of other cars that do have weather stripping, it basically keeps all the moisture and dirt out the top half of the engine, because this is really pretty sad. But as far as the vehicle on its own, I don't regret it. It's been safe. It's a top safety pick. Plus, getting high 20 mpg while doing, you know, sub 7 seconds 0 to 60s continuously, and having over 9 inches of ground clearance, that's really impressive. I think Subarus, especially Subaru turbo models, are really kind of in between a lot of other great vehicles. For example, one extreme is something like a Jeep Wrangler or the ancient Toyota 4Runner, which I do love, but it gets 15 miles per gallon per a lot of people's personal reports. It's not even a 5-star crash test rated vehicle, but it's killer off-road while having pretty good on-road, you know, balance with its front independent suspension and rear axle. And then the other extreme is something like 100 mile per gallon equivalent fast street car, basically, what the Tesla Model Y is. That's basically the safest vehicle in existence on the road up until the Cybertruck with what its crash tests look like. So the Tesla is safer, faster, and more efficient than the Outback. The Toyota 4Runner is more capable, slightly larger, you know, better resale value than the Outback. But the Outback kind of bridges those extremes, in my opinion. Those other models I'm just mentioning because I have kind of a love-hate relationship for them. I really like a lot of the things they are, but they also are on kind of that extreme of the spectrum. But here's the financial side of things and a little bit of a story. So financially speaking, this was not the best $40,000 liability to own, in my opinion. For example, I'll compare my Subaru to the infamous Toyota 4Runner I just mentioned, which I also test drove a couple of those just recently, just for fun, because again, love-hate relationship. I just want to see what they feel like to me more modernly now that I've driven a couple hundred other new vehicles on my channel. And they're commonly known for being incredibly reliable and having honestly obnoxiously high resale values. And so when I bought this a little over 2 years ago and I had just sold that Crosstrek I mentioned earlier, I only actually lost about $2,000 on that. I paid for that in full, so there wasn't any interest charges or any, you know, other obnoxious fees or interest rates or anything like that with that to worry about. So 40,000 miles and I only lost $2,000 because I sold it during the height of the crazy used car market. So at the time, paying about another 18 grand for the Outback after tax really didn't feel like that bad of a deal. But now, 2 years and about 31,000 miles later, the market has basically leveled out. There's a lot of cars on basically every car lot you might drive past. And the Outback has depreciated, trading it back to a dealer, you know, so you don't lose the tax credit. And because who has, you know, 30 plus grand to readily spend You might get a better deal private party, but you're also going to be sitting on it for longer. So this started at 40 grand, and now it's likely worth about 30 grand trade-in. Whereas at the time, an equivalently priced SR5 premium 4Runner was about 40 grand as well 2 years ago. But now it's valued at about $36,000, at least according to KBB. Maybe subtract another $2,000 for the gas difference, getting probably 17 miles per gallon on that versus, you know, 26, 27 on this in my area. And you're still 4 grand ahead financially with the used Toyota than this used Subaru Outback. So financially, hands down, I would have been ahead at least $3,000 or $4,000 more if I had to trade this in today, if I had just bought the Toyota to begin with. But here we go. Nothing is like driving a Subaru, especially in a snowstorm. And that's honestly where this thing really shines. This is now the start of my 3rd winter with this Outback Wilderness, and I don't regret it for one bit. Most other all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive vehicles just don't manage as well, given the way that their all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive system works. The weight and the higher center of gravity compared to something like a Subaru that is seriously very refined, very well suited to winter climates. So, do I regret it? No, not really. The Subaru is honestly such a smooth and comfortable ride, and it's just a lot less work to drive and to maintain on the road, especially compared to the body-on-frame 4Runner or any other similar SUV like that. But I still admire those other vehicles and would love to build one someday, but I don't regret my decision to buy the Outback. And when I total the cost of my experience to drive brand new Subarus for the last 4.5 years almost, I maybe lost 13 grand so far between the two vehicles, but I've also driven them for over 70,000 miles. I've known that I was in a safe vehicle. They started every time. They've blown my mind with how well they do in the winter and when I would do home health therapy or just go on little fun trips. They do exactly what they're built to do. So the peace of mind and the safety of a new vehicle, in my mind, was well worth the price that you have to pay to play, especially when the overall driving experience is so smooth and so well suited to roads in the Pacific Northwest. And with that said, I've rambled on long enough. I hope this video is helpful to you. If it was in any way, please consider liking it. Comment below any questions you may have for me or other Subaru owners, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care.